Grandpa here, ready to share another story by the fireside. Tonight's tale is a fairy tale, one filled with magic, mystery, and the power of time itself. So, cozy up, my friends, and let's begin. Long ago, in a quiet village nestled in a valley surrounded by towering mountains, there stood a curious little shop. The shop was known as the Tinkerer's Workshop, a place filled with strange gadgets, intricate contraptions, and objects that seemed to hold secrets of their own. At the heart of the shop sat the tinkerer himself, an old man named Alden, whose skills with clockmaking were whispered about in wonder and fear. But among all the objects in his shop, there was one that no one dared to touch, the enchanted clock. It was said that the clock could stop time itself, though no one knew how or why. The villagers only knew that it had been locked away in Alden's workshop for decades, never to be sold, its secrets known only to the tinkerer. One frosty winter's evening, a young woman named Elara arrived in the village. She was a traveler with a worn cloak, a determined gaze, and a heart full of questions. Elara had heard of the enchanted clock and believed it could help her solve the greatest mystery of her life. Her father, a renowned adventurer, had disappeared when she was a child, leaving behind only a journal filled with cryptic entries. The last page read, "Time holds the key." Elara entered the workshop, her boots crunching against the wooden floor. Alden, now frail and hunched over, looked up from his work with piercing eyes. "You seek the clock," he said, his voice heavy with weariness. "Yes," Elara replied. "I believe it can help me find my father." Alden's expression darkened. "The clock is not a toy nor a solution to the past. It is a curse as much as it is a gift." Despite his warnings, Elara pleaded with him, her desperation shining through every word. Finally, Alden relented, but not without a warning. Time does not forgive, and it does not forget. Use the clock wisely, or it will demand a price. Alden handed Elara the clock, a small, ornate device adorned with golden gears and shimmering emeralds. She turned the delicate key on its side, and instantly the world around her froze. Snowflakes hung motionless in the air, the fire in the hearth stilled mid-flicker, and the faint ticking of the clock was the only sound. Elara's heart raced as she realized the power she held. With the clock in hand, she retraced her father's footsteps, guided by the journal's entries. She ventured into hidden caves, climbed treacherous peaks, and uncovered fragments of his journey, all while time stood still. But as she approached the final clue, she began to notice something strange. The clock's ticking grew louder, almost deafening. Shadows stretched unnaturally, and a cold dread settled over her. She remembered Alden's warning. Time demands a price. At last, Elara found herself in a cavern deep within the mountains. At its center stood a pedestal, upon which lay a single, glowing object, her father's compass. As she reached for it, the cavern shook, and time suddenly restarted. Before her stood a figure, a shadowy, ethereal version of her father. "Elara," he said, his voice a mix of love and sorrow. "I made a mistake. I used the clock to chase answers, to defy time itself, but I became trapped in its curse." Tears streamed down Elara's face. "I just wanted to find you," she whispered. Her father's figure flickered. "You must return the clock to Alden. Break the cycle. Promise me you won't make the same mistakes I did." With a heavy heart, Elara took the compass and fled the cavern. The clock ticking ominously in her hands. Back at the workshop, Alden waited for her, his face pale as he saw the shadows that clung to her. "Did you find what you were looking for?" he asked. Elara placed the clock on the counter. "I found the truth, but not in the way I wanted." Alden nodded solemnly. "You've done what many could not. You've chosen to let go." As Elara stepped out of the workshop, the clock began to chime, and she swore she saw her father's shadow standing beside her, a faint smile on his face. Tomorrow, we'll explore the tale of a song written not for the world, but for a single soul. Grandpa will see you tomorrow at 7 p.m. for another fireside tale. If you enjoyed tonight's story, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share this video with your loved ones. Have a story of your own to tell? Send it to the email in our profile, and it might just become our next fireside tale. Until next time, stay cozy, stay curious, and keep the stories alive.